I'm a wild hood brother who likes to hide out in the projects and in the forest in Bellingham. I didn't expect any of this shit. Thank you, Cheap Wine and Poetry. I'm going to begin with this poem dedicated to my auntie, who was my grandmother's ride-or-die friend for 60 years. This poem is called Song for Miss Yalela, who was buried wrong by some spiteful-ass niggas at First Baptist. And the poem is after John Dryden's song for St. Cecilia's Day. In harmony, heavenly harmony, in universal love, they cry, as nature underneath a row of preaching deacons lay, they would not adorn her head. Church folks banish is heard on high, mean old Miss McDaniel's dead. In music and its power to obey, order and stations makes its leap, but cannot leave or ground this dread. What passion cannot music raise and quell? Yet sisters break their conscious shells as angry deacons stand their ground in reverence. Her loved ones' faces fell, yet the choir comes alive in sound. The trumpet blows but cannot summon Gabriel. The mezzo-sopranos speak of Ariel. Yet this hearth is an upraised altar encamped against her on her side. Her dying notes are never Turk in stride, yet the beat calls the crowd to a fever. But Lord, what can the one teach tonight? What voice can bring now heat or light away from her heretics in praise? Apollo's cynicism that masks its sight cries in its form over her wayward ways, but cannot disguise itself as love. Yet the people need power, and there she lays. The procession moves, but not with the spears in her last and dreadful hour. The church parlor pageant shall devour, but no bugles are heard on high. The alive are still with us. The dead have died. Yet no music here will retune the sky. Thank you very much. I got a lot of respect for this place. I always want to come here with new good shit. This poem is called Uncle Mo Washes His Niece's Feet After a Busted Wedding. Now is not for God or an altar like Kenta, not for surfaces of shells, of brooms in their frames, not for bonds, legal and in tradition decayed. Sister, let me soak your bunions. Now is not for ministry, but a ministry of spices. The roots and the fruit of Exodus screwed, then boiled in nations of heaters. Now is for tub salts and old onion peelers. Little sister, come sit with me. Now, in the moment of the boy man's rut, and men who speak of youth and nothing but while their oats breathe a poison to their faces. He sits with his bucket and new Epsom bag and clears, if not clarifies, myth. At the wedding now, only sulfur is truth. Commitment is a yoke that bears two weights, so in the middle of the mosque she eats pork. Spikes start from the heels, then to the head, then the heart, and the red bucket is a hiding place. Little sister, let me soak them bunions. Love is a sign here that has no face, and a hot plate is her only commitment. Little sister, the heart is a moving tent. Little sister, let me soak them bunions. Thank you. Like Amani, sometimes I read some intense stuff and work out some heavy blues. So you feel free to take care of yourself any way you need to take care of yourself in this poem. This poem is called To Thomas. On the day he found God and apologized for making me give him head. Bitter is the bread of your word on Antioch. Bitter the taste, bitter the kneading, bitter the loaves, yet far bitter the feeding, go back home, lost son, go home. Bitter is your song told over in glory, told on the times of other boys' souls, told on our backs, in the backs of our skulls, go back home, lost son, go home. Bitter is your prologue, your call, your response, your spirit that suffers by proxy. Your spirit's not the only one to sacrifice his body. Go back home, lost son, go home. Bitter is your David, your brown-skinned Saul, your cross in your redemption plan. Your pleas here are hollow. I am only a man. Go back home, lost son, go home. Bitter is the sound of your new jubilee. Stained is your soul claps, stained your tongues, stained to the everlasting, passed over and gone from redemption in dirty church rivers. Bitter is the mouth still of what you severed. Go back home, lost son, go home. Thank you. I'm kind of with the New York, the old New York school of critic Philip Roth, when he said, politics and art is what you do with it. I am A, for having high standards, making the poem, work. The poem has to carry the issue. But there are times when I see critics saying, "Oh, that's an issues poem. Oh, that's an issues poem. Oh, that black person talking about an issues poem." And I just see it as a progressive poet's way of saying nigger and getting away with it. This poem is called "Stopped and Frisked on Fraser and Woburn Death Fugue," and after they finish, and it has a epigraph. Or does it explode? From Langston Hughes, What Happens to a Dream Deferred? Or does it escape you? Does it leave in the quiet, in a sudden September, by nature, by water, in a circle of cars and men who plead your body like a drum? Men who plead your blood long after your skin lies in its veneer of matter. And after they finish, will the sun have too much light? Will the breeze and all its subtext violate your space? And will the willow trouble your mind? Will the evergreens, fixed in their portable promised lands, color a life you'll never have again? Thank you. And I got to make a quick statement on that. I'm not saying that poem's not talking about hurting cops. It's talking about, when you are frisked, you are violated so much you want to die. I'm going to do 3 more poems. This poem, this is called Ash Street Shootout Anti-Epic. After W.B. Yeats, Mahalia Jackson, Thomas Dorsey, T.S. Eliot, Wallace Stevens, Stevie Wonder, Carl Sandburg, and the Staple Singers. And it has 2 epigraphs. I think what happens now is we go up to Ash Street and clean them out, Police Sergeant Sam Thrall said. We have a real concentration of bad guys there, and the neighborhood has finally clashed with them face to face. The fact that nobody got hurt is kind of amazing. Los Angeles Times, 1989. And then the second epigraph is, we are things of dry hours in the involuntary plan, gradient in gray. Gwendolyn Brooks, Kitchenette Building. 1, trying to find a nigga on 19th Street. Bad Friday is the solstice of the involuntary plan. A season that, in its myriads of metaphors, turns all to flip tombs and shadows. The last light of blue upon black in the sky dies suddenly by the flash of the street lamp. Cop cars and outlines of city sirens cross over unseen seas. Handkerchief niggas in the chromed out boats cross over unseen seas as migrations seek chambers. Migrations of soldiers in various tassels make the block simmer hot like a bomb. Hood fights the syllables that have blown off limbs under a station of 100 crosses. The rings to a service still call the roll, but it clangs a division bell. Clangs under the sign of magnums, empty shells of misaligned scales and domes. Rage, costumed in a million masks, costumes their flesh and bone, that excavates a weight their dreams of weight compels. 2, trying to find that nigga on 20th Street. The sky from a distance is a liturgy of lead. The dusk and the basket carry are rituals of the head that go into a myriad of fields. The hampers move through the side streets like shields as Georgia's sisters move in sequence. Run, run, homeboy, run. Bangers move, oblivious to passages, to fiends and crystal pastorals. Fiends and knuckleheads hear their own chorals, but the sisters cannot find God. Run, run, homeboy, run. From the red of the sunset abyss they move, from memories of clay and elusive dark stars, invisible in nightly routine walks. The spirit in this market doesn't know how to talk, and the carrier of their burdens lay meager. Run, run, homeboy, run. Players, mothers, iced up lost sons, and the lost sons and daughters before them travel in a wilderness of keys. Displaced is the keepers of errands and dreams, yet the sisters move north toward the sea. Run, run, homeboy, run. The sisters move north and home toward the sea, but there's no place to move after water. Run, run, homeboy, run. 3, trying to find that nigga on 21st Street, or Song of the Suburban Gangster. We will excavate the graves of your brothers and sisters. We will pile up dream ones for combat and sport. We are the summer soldiers. We are mighty. And pile them on intersections, corners, blocks, and pile them in scorecards, stories and tracks, and dead sanctuary strands. We will even take your dreams. Shovel them to rappers and soldiers of fortune. Shovel them to the cripped out children of corn syrup and the crip soul catcher on the hill. The step of our soft shoe will cut to your heel. We will even take your dreams. And pile them into our memory, and pile them from new kills and old cotton bones. Stack them into fibers that transform into chapters that you write and write alone. 2 generations, 10 generations, the homeboy wonders among this set fight. What world is this? Where am I at now? We are the summer soldiers. We will even take your dreams. 4, trying to find them on 23rd Street. Look away, oh errant young homeboy. Look away from the war zone by the waters and wild. Look away from these fields, steal back the child thugs and chain them in new binds, the ice in the vial. Look away, the grass is screaming. Figures who set trip surround you an island. Figures who set trip multiply by the thousands as a hood's bang stratifies the mind. As hoods bang from the sneaks to their cars, as junkies run to the rock. And the mind is off kilter as a barbecue pit becomes a mile long. And the refracted fury of unwearied eyes coats the real city, coats it from cries, to keep hatred from the mighty and keep the mighty from the eyes of the roundaway girl, young thug, open wounded homeboy, of the tripped out, set tripping triple OG who runs the blood jubilee social, with the knights eating souls and pyru pastorals, with the sign on your multitudes, a burnt rainbow and corals, a lamppost of the thunder in the dark rose of Sharon, a lamppost of that lightning on that dark day, saying, who shall be able to stand? Look away, homeboy, look away. One more poem. I'm going to end with an oldie but goodie. I have books, and thank you for them. The Hugh House for I have, and it would do me. It'd be wonderful if you support. Thank you, much love. So I'll end it with this poem. I used to be a teaching artist. A while back, one of my students came back from D.C. We were at a club in Seattle. I won't tell. It ain't here no more. And it's not my kind. It wasn't my kind of club. I'm not a club dude. I'm kind of like I like the suburbs. I don't like the way I'm treated in the suburbs, but I like the suburbs. And there's this dude at this kind of club, and I don't know what he was wearing, but I knew it was from a mall. And he kept kind of like going around trying to like feed lines. And it's just like it wasn't that kind of party. My student's friend was getting off work, and so we're trying to get out. We're trying to leave. So we're at the door, and I got ADD because my wonders. You know, I can be paying attention to you, but my eyes can go to different places. And I see this dude got a neon drink. And I see him take something from his back pocket. And he puts it in his drink. Got all my hood nigga senses up. This poem, after Wallace Stevens' 13 different ways of looking at a blackbird, is called 13 different ways of looking at a motherfucker in the club. One, among 20 bros at the club, the only thing moving toward my cousin was the eye of the motherfucker. Two, I was of three minds, like the IQ of the motherfucker in the club. Three, the motherfucker in the club whirled in the autumn wind. It was a small part of some corny bro dance. Four, a Maxim magazine and Axe body spray, a one. A Maxim magazine, Axe body spray, and a motherfucker in the club, a one. Five, I do not know which to prefer. The time when the motherfucker in the club says to my cousin, girl, I want to sop you up like a biscuit. Or, girl, you look good enough to see the greens with. Or, girl, if your left leg is Christmas and your right leg is New Year's, can I visit you in between the holidays? Six. Bros fill the window with barbaric glasses of liquor a rapper drank on BET. The motherfucker in the club drank them to and fro, an indecipherable case. Seven. Oh, thin bros of Seattle. Why do you imagine that you could put Rohypnol in my cousin's drink? Do you not know my juvenile assault record when you walk the feet of the young lady around me? 8, I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms. But I know, too, that if the motherfucker in the club gives her that drink, I'm going to catch a case. 9, when the motherfucker in the club flew out the window. 10, at the sight of the motherfucker in the club flying outside the window, a ball of euphony cried out, what did I tell you? What the fuck did I tell you? You put your hands on my back and you turn it again, I'll get the backing off your back in front of your goddamn daddy. I swear for God, if 4 more niggas will bust your head to the white meat and kick your ass up and down the block till your ass is torn the frame. And what are the rest of you bros looking at? Which one of you want to ask the dentist to get their teeth fixed? Don't let this Mo Twain fool you. 11. The motherfucker in the club ran past downtown with a busted hand. Once a fear pierced him in that he mistook someone else for a person who was driven away. 12, the wind is howling. The motherfucker in the club is somewhere in a corner. 13, cheap wine and poetry, Hugo House, you've been wonderful.